Oh, that's actually true. If I did 2 rows in 10 minutes, then I can do, oh gosh, 2 rows in 10 minutes times 5. I could probably do that in an hour per day. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 246 of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today we are in our 43rd state of Pennsylvania. It's going to be, well, it was our 41st to film in. We actually filmed in Philadelphia on Friday, but right now we are in Quakertown. Actually, let me make sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, Quakertown. And it is a lovely 63 degrees right now. Cool enough that I'm wearing shorts, but I have on my knitted top to show you that it's totally finished now. I'm so excited to share. You know, this week has been a really busy filming week. We filmed at 3 different shops in 3 different states, and I haven't done a ton of knitting, but it does feel like all my knitting projects are finally falling into place. Whereas the last couple weeks, I feel like there's been a lot of like frustration with my projects. They're either, you know, I'm having to make like more complex decisions about them, or the needles and the yarn combinations are driving me nuts, like my Musselburgh hat. But they're all kind of falling into place right now, so much so that I was able to start swatching for a new sweater, which I'm really excited about. And I also made a bunch of knitting plans, which reminds me, I need to go grab my notebook before I get into that. But before we get into today's episode, I want to say a big thank you to a new sponsor of the podcast, the Knitting Circle. The Knitting Circle is the #1 online resource to help you become a better knitter. The Knitting Circle has thousands of step-by-step videos and project demonstrations, from hats to cowls, socks, and everything in between. Like right now for fall, there is this adorable fall garland by Jen Lucas that is included for members. Whether you're a beginner of this craft or a more experienced knitter looking to add to your repertoire, the Knitting Circle is for makers of all levels and skills. It's kind of like having a friend sit down next to you and teach you something new. I got sucked into this lesson by Mary Beth Temple about the star toe. I'm always looking for new and fun techniques to try in my socks. As a member, you get unlimited access to hundreds of project demonstrations, video tutorials, live events, Q&A sessions, plus a community of knitters who are always sharing new ideas. And the Knitting Circle is always adding new things to its library. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to the Knitting Circle for only $1.49. Thank you so much to the Knitting Circle for joining us here on the podcast. And now let's get into the episode. Real quick, I just want to show you my color tip tee because I did talk extensively about it last week, but I finished doing the bind off. I did a twisted Italian bind off, I think. I learned about it from the twisted t-shirt by Brianna Lupino, which I completed earlier this year, and I really like the finishing. So even though that wasn't a detail included in this pattern, I did do that for the sleeves and for the bottom hem. It takes a long time, but I think it's so worth it. Actually, let's see. It just makes this like really nice edge. It's kind of rounded over. It's just like the 1x1, you know, sewn bind off, but with twisted rib, which I really like. So I had added an inch onto this. I think that's enough. I still haven't tried this on with real pants. I'm still wearing shorts. So I'll have to see when I actually get my jeans on if I still like the length of this. I am happy with the pocket placement though, even though, see how it looks kind of crooked? Isn't that funny? It's shouldn't be crooked. I am almost 99.9% positive that I picked up stitches all along the same row, but I think just because of the nature of the knitted fabric, it kind of like falls a little bit. So that's something new for me, you know, to kind of try to figure out. I'm almost wondering if I maybe picked too large of a size. I did go a little bigger on the ease because I just find that more comfortable. So maybe I should not have done that in order to get the fit and the, you know, pocket alignment. But all in all, I'm happy with it. I feel like I need to wear it for a little longer, let it kind of relax and stretch out, even though I did block it another time after finishing it. I think sometimes you just have to wear something for a little bit to really see how it's going to settle. Let me see if I can get back here a little bit so you can kind of see the length that it ended up at. My belly button is like right here. So I have a good, I would say 3 inches past that, which is perfect because at least right now I'm still wearing pretty high-waisted everything. So that kind of works perfectly for me. So all in all, very happy with how this came out. It was a very fast pattern at first. And then once I had to wait for more yarn, because I did need to order a 4th skein of my main color that I did not need or did not think I was going to need. And I ended up using quite a bit. If I ever need to go back and add a little more length, I do have enough to probably add another couple inches, but I think I'm cool with it. So let me know what you think. All in all, I'm very happy with it. I have actually, this is pulling out. I think I still have this end right here that I sewed up this side of the pocket to still weave in, and maybe one to cut in the sleeve. When I was putting it on this morning, I was like, why are there ends poking out? So I might still have a couple ends to weave in, but then it is a finished thing. I need to get a little photo. Maybe I'll do it here. We got these beautiful trees behind us, and she is finished. Now for what I feel like is the best news all week. I have switched to my other yarn for my Musselburgh hat, and I'm back to 16-inch circular needles, making this a project that is just so enjoyable again. So I really hate that I've complained about this so much, but it truly just wasn't what I expected. The yarn that I'm using for this Musselburgh hat is absolutely stunning and lovely. I just think I wasn't prepared. So I guess I want to share more about it so that if you find yourself with a really luxury yarn or just a yarn that's hard to work with, you take the time to try to make it an experience that works for you. Somebody actually left a comment, I think it was last week's video, saying that if it was them, they would have bought wooden circular needles that would have been worth the investment to make this a project that really was enjoyable for them. And I really respect that opinion because I probably should have done that at any point between the crown and here. But at the point where I was last week, I felt like I was so far into it that it was going to be just an unnecessary consumption thing. And I also couldn't find any circular needles that were bamboo. I don't have my DPNs here to show you, but sorry, let me back up and explain a little bit. So this yarn is amazing. It is Kiviot, and I got it in Alaska. This whole hat is my Alaska hat. It is soft. It is dreamy. It is fuzzy. It's going to be so, so warm. Kent last night walked in our van. We're at a campsite right now, and he was like, is this your Kiviot yarn label? I'm like, well, I don't know who else's it would be. So somehow this got outside, but I got this yarn at Cabin Fever. This is actually going to be our tour coming up this week, and their yarn company is called Woolly Mammoth, and they dyed this yarn. So this is 100% Alaskan Kiviot yarn, which is a muskox, and then they dyed over the natural color to get this beautiful, like pinky, I don't know what color to call this, but it's beautiful. So I was so excited to work with this yarn. Did I leave the leftover? I do have a little bit left, but I think I must have put it away somewhere. I was so excited to work with it, and it has just been one struggle after the other. It was super difficult to use my metal needles. I typically do a long, like a 32-inch circular needle to start the Musselburgh hat. That was tricky. I then realized maybe I needed a little more grip, so I switched to bamboo DPNs. And bamboo and wood needles are not always equal. So bamboo is it's more textured. It has a ton of grip to it. And for a lot of people, that's not enjoyable. Most of the time, I like to use my, what's brand is it? Lantern Moon ebony needles, which is like a laminated wood, much smoother, not quite as slick as metal, but a much smoother experience. But for this yarn in particular, the bamboo was actually great because it provided that grip that I needed to make this not feel like a slippery mess. So that was going great. And honestly, it wasn't bad working with the DPNs. It just made this a project that wasn't totally portable for me because I had to really watch what I was doing. I had 4 double pointed needles all the way around, and a 5th one. I actually ended up losing one. Thank goodness my set had 6. So now I'm down to 5 DPNs. I have no idea. I think I lost that DPN in the last podcast I recorded, like it fell out outside somewhere. Anyway, I again did not have the proper tools. I didn't have proper storage for my project on DPNs. I don't have in protectors or anything, so my stitches were falling off. It just, me not being prepared for it just kind of led to a little bit of misery. And again, this is all relative. It wasn't that bad, but all of that to say, I'm happy to be on a yarn that's a little bit easier to work with, that I can go back to my preferred 16-inch circular needles and my metal needles, because now I'm using a totally different yarn. I did at one point, I was at a couple of yarn stores, as I mentioned this week, and I looked for 16-inch wooden needles. And while the store had 16-inch wooden needles, they didn't have bamboo. And I just felt like if I was going to buy something that was going to make this project easier, I wanted it to really make this project easier. And so for me, it just wasn't worth getting an extra set of needles that I knew I would only use for this project. So that was kind of my rationale, but I am very happy to be into this next yarn. So let's talk about this one. So this yarn is also a fun one. You can see it's got a little pink in it, and actually this like pink halo as I'm knitting is matching almost exactly this color. It is wild. Like, it is coming together so perfectly, even though you won't see these two yarns, or at least I'm hoping, like together, because all this should be lining. They are going together even better than I anticipated, and I bought them at separate stores without having them together. So that makes me feel really, really good. I mean, it looks so good. I'm so excited. So this yarn I also got in Alaska at a little shop outside of Denali National Park. And here we go. This is Polychrome Fibers. So the owner of the store itself is also called Polychrome Fibers. They're only open in the summer, and they just opened this year. So I'm guessing they're probably already closed for the season, but they're also a yarn dyer, and I believe you can get their yarn at any time. This is their yak sock base. So it is 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. I think I've worked with yak one time before. If my memory is right, I made my brother a hat many years ago that had a little bit of yak in it, but it's not something I normally work with. So this is really fun that I have a nice yak yarn. I'm not noticing like a huge difference in how it feels like knitting with it. It's maybe a little bit more like with less bounce to it, more like when you add silk to something, but not in a negative way. Like it's fine. It just feels slightly different. It has a little bit of fuzz to it, but I think the yak also contributes to the color, where it's got this warmer base. It's not like a white base to dye on. So it just takes the color in a really interesting way. So this is going to be the lining of the hat. And what I'm working on next is trying to figure out how to make sure that this hat will fold at the place that I want it to, because what I want right now, oh, that's actually a really good representation of the color. Let me see if the camera will show that. See how there's just like that little bit of pink like coming through right here that just looks so good next to this. I love it so much. So my hope is that this hat will fold about right here for the halfway point. So I want the lining to be, you know, inside, but I don't want it to fold right there. I want it to fold here. Now my struggle with this is that I really don't want to put in a purl ridge. I just don't like how that looks when the purl ridge is like right here, even though doing just one round of purl really helps to define where your hat will fold, but I'm afraid that might be my best answer. I know there's another technique you can do. It's like a slip stitch, I think, where you like slip every other stitch for just one row, and that kind of helps it fold. So I'm going to look more into that. I guess what I was originally hoping is if I just make this part longer, that it will fold where I want it to fold. And maybe that's the case too. Maybe I just go for that. But I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Now, I am getting to a point in my projects where I'm getting a little bit like, okay, I want to finish them because I want to have this experience in October that is very akin to December Advent making. So with this hat, I did some planning, and with my socks that I'm going to talk about next. Actually, maybe I'll save it for my socks and I'll talk about it in a minute, but I have done some project planning. I got, like I said, everything kind of fell into place, and I got really motivated last night, and I made a project plan. I started a swatch. It just felt really, really good. We finally had just a little bit of rest yesterday. a day where we didn't have to move our van. We didn't have to have any, we didn't have any timed commitments. So we just got to sit, get a lot of work done, get a little rest on, and it allowed my brain just to clear up some space for this. So essentially, I'm going to be trying to finish this by the end of the month, but I'll talk more about that in the next segment. I've barely done a thing on this sock. Having two projects that are kind of an easygoing stockinette project is not really ideal. I'm honestly a little bored. I think that's what it is too. I'm a little bored with my projects right now. I love my hat and I love my socks, but having two stockinette projects as my only projects is just not stimulating enough. It's good to have one and then have something else. So that's why I'm excited to get some other projects in the works here in October. But these socks are my endless summer socks. As you can see, I think I've done like 5 rows maybe. I've just started doing some increasing here before I start my short row heel. So nothing really super interesting to talk about with these. The yarn is from 316 Dye Studio, and Jenny made this colorway for the Love and Stitches membership. So that's about it for this one for right now. I will have more next week because I also want to get these socks done by the end of the month. But let's talk plans. So we have as of when I'm recording this, we have about a week left in the month. And so I looked at how much time was left. I looked at all of my projects. And then before I made any plans, I thought, what experience do I want to have in October? What projects do I want to work on in October? My main motivator for this is that I have an October countdown that I am wanting to work on daily in October. I have 30 days of mini skeins. I'm going to be crocheting Kent a blanket. I made Toaster this blanket. I've made myself this blanket, and now Kent will finally get one because this is a Beetlejuice themed countdown, and I'm really excited. I am itching to crochet so badly. I didn't bring a crochet project with me this trip, and I am just ready to get back into crochet into blankets. So in order for me to have the space for that, I feel like I need to clear out some of my projects. The other thing that I thought about that I want to do in October is I have an October themed sock yarn, and I thought that would be fun to work on. But again, I already have 2 stockinette projects and I definitely don't need 3. So ideally, if I could finish my socks and my hat by the end of the month, again, I have just about a week, a little over a week, then I will be free and clear to just have this, amazing, enjoyable experience in October. So I'm really hoping to do that. So that's what motivated me to do some project planning. Okay, so I did a little bit of math. So I have 9 days, and for my Musselburgh hat, I have 6.5 inches of the stockinette part of the body, and then the crown, which is about 3 inches. So I figure if I do approximately an inch or so per day for 6 days, I know I need a little more than that, and then I do the crown for 3 days, I will be done by the end of the month. So that looks like this. And you can see I made these little circles so I can kind of check them off. And I went even further and I was like, well, okay, how much is an inch? Because I'm not going to get my measuring tape out every day. Let's see how much an inch is. Gosh, acorns are falling everywhere. And an inch is about 10 rows. So I put in another marker this morning. I kind of figured this will be my morning knitting. I won't get 10 rows done in the morning, but my morning knitting, I can get a few rows done. So I have this marker, this secondary marker to mark, and then everything above that is rows that I've done for that day. So I've only did 2 rows this morning. I was eating breakfast, and then working on that for just 10 minutes. So oh, that's actually true. If I did 2 rows in 10 minutes, then I can do, oh gosh, 2 rows in 10 minutes times 5. I could probably do that in an hour per day. That seems pretty doable, but that's not the only thing that I want to do in the day. I also broke down my endless summer socks. So for socks, I have sort of a week formula for a single sock, but I don't have 2 weeks. That's my first sock here. This is the first sock, and it's approximately less than halfway done. So I figured I gotta get this first sock finished in the next couple days. The next 2 days are kind of a weekend for us. We're going to be staying with some friends. I should have more knitting time than normal. So I thought, let's push the next 2 days, and then I will have a whole week of normal work week where I can just do my kind of sock week schedule, basically. So today and tomorrow, I'm hoping to accomplish the heel, the foot, and the toe, like get this first sock done. Then that will leave me 7 days where I can break things down like my sock week schedule. So starting with the cuff, then 1 day on the leg, or sorry, 2 days on the leg, another day on the heel, 2 days on the foot, and 1 day on the toe. That's pretty doable with about 1 to 2 hours of knitting per day. So now with the hat and with the socks, I'm like up to 2+ hours of knitting per day. That's semi-reasonable for me. It's a push, it's definitely a sprint, but I'm feeling pretty confident about getting it done. So that leaves me then with space to do my blanket in October, my socks in October, and this next project that I'm going to share. One of my goals for September, start again. One of my goals for September was to buy yarn for the Salty Days sweater. And I want to cast it on in October, work on it through October and November, and finish it before December because I want to be able to wear it kind of as a winter holiday project. So I had the chance last night after I made all of my plans with my other projects, felt really good and confident about that. All of those goals start today. I felt like, we got a little car starting up. Hold on, let me wait a second. Okay, actually, it's not that loud, so hopefully it'll be okay. But I thought, let me kind of take a little break from, the rigid schedule from the stockinette projects, and let me do something fun and start something new. I can get this swatch done, then it can be just done and completed, and I'll be ready to get cast on at some point in October. I'm not like rushing to start all my October projects October 1st. It is a Tuesday after all, but then I will have that done and it will be fun, right? So I got to start my lovely squishy swatch, and I am using a size 8 needle. I don't know if this will be my final needle size. I hope it is, because I realized that I have lost a size 7 needle tip. So I hope I don't need to go down a needle size. But this gauge is looking pretty good. Once I block it, I'll know for sure, but it's looking pretty accurate. So I've got a little bit further to go until I'm ready to bind that off, block my swatch. I love that this is my first pattern from Veronica Lindbergh. She has a pre and post blocking gauge, whereas most patterns just give one gauge, which is assumed to be post blocking because you're going to, wash your sweater before you wear it. So I appreciate that. And it kind of gives me a little chance to kind of check and see if things are going at least close, and then I can block it and see how it grows, if it grows like hers grows. So I'm really excited for this. I got this yarn last week at Fiber Space in Alexandria, Virginia. I am using one of the yarns she recommended, and I did a substitute for the other one. So for the DK, I am using a worsted weight. Excuse me. I'm using a worsted weight from a hand-dyed yarn company out of Virginia called the Little Fox, or Little Fox. Maybe it's just Little Fox. Yeah. Little Fox. Whoops, sorry about that. Little Fox. And it says worsted weight, but the yardage to gram ratio is not too far off from the yarn that the designer used. She also says you can use DK or worsted weight. This colorway is called Mallow, and I think that's really fun because it's like a marshmallow. I did hand wind this last night. I don't have a ball winder in Swift in the van, but I'm going to a friend's house today, so I'm hoping I can wind up my other skeins and have them ready to go. So again, when I'm ready to cast on this project, I'm just ready. The other yarn, I'm holding these double. You can't really tell, can you? I'm holding these double. There is a mohair silk in here just for a nice little fuzzy effect. This is the yarn that was recommended in the pattern. This one is a little bit, in this light, it's kind of almost looking grayer. It's interesting because it's kind of a taupey color. It can lean a little pink, but I think these two colors together are making a really nice neutral, just like I hoped for, but something that isn't like stark, It still has a little warmth to it. I like it a lot. I'm excited for it. So this is Knitting for Olive. You can't really see the tag, sorry. The price label is right on top of it, but Knitting for Olive. And this is my first time using Knitting for Olive. I've seen it so many places and I'm excited to use it. It's a 70% mohair, 30% silk, and the color is called Powder. So finish the swatch, get it blocked here in the next couple days. Again, going to take advantage of all the resources that I have while at a friend's house, the space to block, the extra water and all of those things. And then this will just be tucked away and ready for me to cast on in a couple of weeks. I'm already enjoying working with the two yarns together. So I think the sweater is going to just be a wonderful experience and something fun, something that's going to be a little more of a challenge than all my stockinette projects I've been doing lately. We've been to 3 states again this week, and we're going to 3 states next week. It's kind of a wild ride, a little rush up until we get to Rhinebeck, but it's been really fun. We've had a lot of opportunities to do social stitch nights with the different yarn stores that we're going to, and we have some coming up. So I'll talk about that in the coming up segment. So this week we started off in Maryland. We actually got into Maryland on Tuesday. We were previously, where were we before that? We were still in Maryland. So I guess we didn't get there on Tuesday. I'm a little confused because we were in Virginia, DC, Maryland. Maybe we were just in Maryland after that. Honestly, I know it sounds like I just don't know what I'm talking about, but we bop around sometimes between states so much, and so much happens in the span of a week that sometimes it feels like that literally happened forever ago. I'm also just bad at remembering things, and Kent is much better at navigating them. Okay, so we got into Maryland. We drove around Annapolis, and I got a really horrible photo of the Capitol because it was hard to capture with all the construction. The town of Annapolis itself is very cute. I'm a little sad we didn't have more time to spend around there, but maybe we'll be back one day and I can get a better picture of the Capitol. Toaster, our dog, also did not get to sniff around and pee on the Capitol lawn, which is what we usually do, but it's kind of a silly thing. Kent's the one who enjoys going to see the Capitol buildings. I also enjoy it too, but this was not really a conducive place to do that because of the streets were so small. Some of the streets, our van Lydia was actually too heavy to go down. So a little bit of a stressful morning, but we got the picture. We saw it, and that's what matters. So after that, we went to our Maryland yarn store, Knits and Pieces. We filmed a tour that morning, and then we had sort of a private event at the shop. They have a little bit of a smaller space. So Karen, the owner, had just a smaller event where we got to meet some of the regulars that come into the shop. Somebody made, Anne, I believe her name was, made this delicious like blueberry cake thing that was so good. So we basically just got to hang out and chill. I knitted on my hat. That's how I got so much done on my Musselburgh this week, is that I had a lot of knit nights to go to. So we just hung out and knitted, which was super lovely. I did end up getting some yarn. So they gave me a little goodie bag that says Annapolis on it. What does this say? Stitches in the City, which is super cute. And then a little Knits and Pieces accoutrement. Got another little baggie in here. I actually love, this is their logo. Isn't that great? It's right on the water there, Annapolis. So that's cool. I like these little baggies. I actually should be using them in my big bucket right now. So right now I have 3 projects in here, and then they get like tangled and the needles like stab into each other. So I'm just going to slide that right into my bucket bag there. I can at least put my sock project in there and it won't tangle with the others. And then I also got from them, this person, I believe they said is a local maker, makes these awesome stitch markers. They're like the small little jump ring ones, which I love, but they are covered, the little joint is covered by kind of like a little bead, I think. So maybe I'll slip that onto my Musselburgh hat. I don't like dangly things for my beginning of round marker. I'm strange like that. I do like them for my, what do they call it? Progress keepers, but for some reason I don't like it for beginning of round. So those are actually perfect for me. And then they gave me a lovely little measuring tape. Always nice to have those handy. I also got some yarn. So what was so fun for me at Knits and Pieces is I got to meet Melissa. Melissa is an employee of Knits and Pieces, but also the dyer of Rising Tide Fiber Co. And I worked with Melissa 2 years ago in 2023 for, I guess it was last year, sorry, a year ago, 2023 for Sock Week. She made us a lovely color, and it was really cool to get to meet her, get a local Maryland yarn. So I got this sock set that I am planning to put this part into my blanket, but I'll have plenty left over if I want to do a sock set after that. It's called Sunny Disposition. So very happy with that purchase. Did we do anything else? Oh, the one thing I regret about not doing in Maryland is we didn't get any crab cake, but we did get crab cake 2 years ago when we went for Maryland Sheep and Wool, and I am planning to go to Maryland Sheep and Wool in 2025. So crab cake is going to be on the menu then. Our next state was Delaware, our 42nd state, and for me, a brand new one. I have not been to Delaware, maybe like driven through for half a second, but never actually visited, stayed the night, had a meal in Delaware. So I was really excited to get to experience a new state. We got to stay with my friend Vanessa, whom I met through my membership, but then we became really good friends a couple of years ago, my first Rhinebeck, when her and her partner Brandon just like rescued me from being stuck on the train, like stuck at the train, what is it called? Station. And so since then, I've just wanted to go visit her in her home. So I got to visit her, and she was just a lovely host, and we got to meet her dogs, and Toaster loved it there and did not want to leave. He became a little pack with her dogs and was very sad to go. We stayed just 2 nights with her, but like less than 48 hours. It was kind of a whirlwind. So we went to a yarn store. We filmed a tour at the Yarn Maven in Smyrna. Wait, was it Smyrna? Yeah. Smyrna, I think, which is just outside of Dover. So we filmed at the Yarn Maven in the morning, and then we came back that night. What day of the week was that? Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. They have their stitch nights once a week from 4 to 8. So that was a really lovely time. The store is absolutely amazing. Sue carries such a great selection. She was so lovely. And we'll have that tour coming out. All of these tours I'm talking about, we're kind of like on a 2-month lead time at this point because we're filming so many back to back. But we had a great time at that stitch night. And there was a big crowd, a lot of people. I made sure to share that we were going. And so we had a couple people that drove a little bit further and got to come in, and I got to meet them, which was really, really great. One of the people that I got to meet was Elisa, who has her own yarn dyeing business. She lives part-time in Delaware and part-time in Arizona. So she gifted me a beautiful skein of her yarn. It's called Alley Rose Artisans. Can't read backwards. Alley Rose Artisans. So that's going to be lovely for my blanket, a nice pink. And we connected a little bit because we have a lot of things in common. They also travel in a trailer, I believe. I'm not using the right words today. A camper. No, an RV. They have an RV. Sorry. Trying to get all of my words straight. They travel in an RV and then travel between states, which was cool. We got to connect on that a lot, and it was fun getting to meet her, and thank you. I also got some yarn from Sue herself, another Delaware yarn. This is Porter Wool Company, and this color is called Surf and Sand. Again, perfect for Delaware, perfect for my blanket. And Sue is so sweet. They don't have this yarn in the shop right now. I believe the dyer is taking a break. But so she pulled this from her personal stash to gift me because she knew that I was looking for Delaware yarn. So thank you so much. And then I made one other purchase while we were there. I wanted to get a yarn that I've seen now at the last couple of yarn stores that we've been to that I have not seen before, and something to make some hats. We're going to be doing some charity knitting and crochet in the membership coming up in October. And so I keep seeing this yarn that I'd never seen before. It's called Fiber Spates. I think they're from the UK, somewhere in the UK. And I just grabbed a DK, kind of like a neutral yarn that I think will be really nice and squishy and warm and soft for a hat. It's a superwash merino wool, so I think it will be perfect to gift to somebody. Wool is really nice because it doesn't require washing very frequently. I honestly can't remember the last time I washed my hats, so I figured that would be a good one, but it can, go into the machine on cold if needed. So lots of things in Delaware. Now I'm looking around and I don't have my loop yarn with me, my Philly yarn. So hold on, let me go grab that. Got the yarn. So let me wrap up Delaware. We went through Dover on the way out of Delaware and we went to the Capitol. This time we did get out and walk around, which was great. So next we made our way into our 43rd state that we're currently in, Pennsylvania, and we were going to Philadelphia. And because we were going to a larger city, we decided we would drive in the day before and drive around looking at the yarn store, looking at the parking and everything, which was a good thing because then we got to feel pretty confident that we could get a parking spot. We did, it all worked out, it was fine. But we were able to get our hands on some cheesesteak, which was great. So we went to a different place than we went to in the past. We went to a very touristy place. When we moved from Texas to New York, we went to Gino's and Pat's, which are like kind of infamous places that are right across the street from each other. But everyone local around there was saying, don't go there. That's like very touristy. Try another place. So we went to two different places. And now, of course, I'm not going to remember what they were called. But the first place was, I think it was called like John's Pork or something. So we did get a pork sandwich, and then we got a chili cheesesteak, and it was a chili cheesesteak. What is wrong with me? We got a Philly cheese steak. That's so funny because I was saying that in my head, and I'm like, that's not right. Let's not call it that. A Philly cheesesteak. And it was fantastic. It was definitely better than Gino's and Pat's. So thank you for suggesting that. So the next day we went to our yarn store tour at Loop. They have been around for almost 20 years. They're about to celebrate their 20-year anniversary. We had a wonderful store tour with Laura, one of the owners, and then I got to meet Bonnie, who I've known for a long time through the membership. And she got to meet Toaster, which was wonderful. So that was really fun. And I learned something I didn't realize, that Loop has their own yarn line. They have about 6 bases, and each of the bases comes in 40 colors, and they have this wonderful palette, and then they do these fun one-of-a-kinds. So their palette, sorry about that, it's my water bottle. Their palette is all tonals or and semi-solids, but then their one-of-a-kinds, they do some speckling and stuff, which is what I'm looking for in my blanket. So I thought this would be really, really fun for that. So can't wait to share that yarn store tour with you. We've just been to so many great yarn stores. So much variety, and it's just been so fun and wonderful. Okay, I think those are all the things. Those are all the things that have happened. In the next segment, I want to share with you some of the places that we're going to next and where you can expect to see us. Coming up this Saturday, we are doing our virtual yarn store tour on YouTube at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, we're going to be going to our first Alaska store. We have 2 stores that we went to in Alaska. The first one is Cabin Fever. That's where I got the Kiviot yarn, and I'm excited to show it to you. It is a yarn store slash gift shop slash fabric store, and it's really interesting because you're going to see some products that you might not see other places that or are more local to Alaska, especially their yarn, because they dye almost all of it themselves. So I think you're really going to like this one. It was a very unique stop for us. Also, what's coming up next Tuesday, there's going to be a bit of a special announcement. I've been working on something, working on a pattern for a while, and then it's how much do I want to share? It's a collaboration. So we got some things to share, but it's also an interview, this video. So I think it's going to be a really fun one. I hope you enjoy it. So that's coming up on Tuesday at the normal time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, let's talk about tours, meet and greets. Okay, so this one's going to have already passed by the time this video goes live, but just in case you're looking to see where we're going coming up, always check my Instagram stories. I post stuff there because that's just the quickest way to get information out to people. But then on my homepage at knittynatty.com, if you scroll past the map, we have the map of all the yarn stores and tour videos. There's a little section that says like where we'll be next. And there I add what meet and greets and knit nights and things we're going to on that page as soon as I know about them. So we are going to have been at Skein Yarn Shop in East Greenwich, Rhode Island on Wednesday, September 25th from 4 to 8. But then these are some that are coming up in the future. As long as you're watching this on Thursday, you might be able to catch us at Stars Hollow Yarns in New Preston, Connecticut. We're going to be there on Friday, September 27th from 12 to 2. For this one, they are asking that you please sign up on their website. I'll put the link down below. It's completely free, but they just want to have an expectation of how many people will be there so they can set up for it. And then the last one I know for now is we will be at Boston Fiber Company in Boston, Massachusetts, Sunday, September 29th. Time TBD. I think it's going to be pretty close to when they open for the day, which is 11, I believe. It's also the yarn crawl, the Boston yarn crawl that weekend. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a crazy time. So TBD, I'll be sharing on Instagram as soon as I know more about that. Okay. Since it's the last podcast of September, can you believe it? We're going to go through all of the October events. I am just going to put a screen recording here on the screen because I don't want Kent to have to make graphics for every single thing in October. I'm just pulling it up. Actually, I'm just going to my own website. So if you go to knittynatty.com, you can then go into, what's it called? Yarny events. You click it at the top, Yarny events, and you will see all the events that are coming up. Okay, here we go. We have the New York Fiber Trail in New York, May 1st through October 31st. Then we're getting into, oh wait, no, sorry, one more. The main yarn cruise, July 1st through October 14th. There's a lot of events that have been super long term. Now we're getting into the events that are just in October. The Kentucky Wool Festival is in Falmouth. I'm not sure how to say that. Falmouth, Kentucky, October 4th through the 6th. Lambtown in Dixon, California, October 5th through the 6th. Kings County Fiber Festival in Brooklyn, New York is October 12th. SAF, or Southeastern Animal Fiber Fair, is in Fletcher, North Carolina, October 18th through the 20th. Frederick Fiber Fest in Frederick, Maryland, October 26th. Oh, this looks like it got out of order. What the? Okay, hold on. Sorry, guys. The Vermont Sheep and Wool Festival is at the Turnbridge Fairgrounds in Vermont, October 5th and 6th. The Central Kansas Yarn Hop is October 15th through the 19th. The Best Little Yarn Crawl is in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, October 11th through the 20th. New York Sheep and Wool, October 19th through the 20th. We will be there. Queens Fiber Arts Festival, October 26th in Queens, New York. The Simi Valley and Central Coast Yarn Shop Hop, October 18th through the 20th in California. The Queen City Fiber Festival is in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, October 26th. And the Dublin Fiber Festival is in Dublin, Ireland, October 26th. There were a few new ones on there that I added this week. I will have to go back and fix some of those dates because they're not in order. Oops. I will figure that out. There's a couple other events that have come on my radar I've added to the site this week that are not in October, so I just wanted to share them with you really quickly. The Alabama Fiber Fest is in Briarfield, Alabama, November 2nd. So you can find more details about that on knittynatty.com. The Carolina Fiber Fest is in Raleigh, North Carolina next year, March 14th through the 15th. That's all of them that I've added this week. Keep on sending them to me. I'm really happy to add those to my website and keep it as a resource. I usually update it once a week. So if you email me and you don't see me respond right away, it's because I'm usually waiting until I'm planning the podcast and getting everything on there. All right, everyone. That was a long episode, longer than I expected it to be. I'm really happy with where I'm at with my knitting this week. I'm really encouraged and excited again about my knitting, which is great after a couple of weeks of just feeling kind of blah about it. So I'm ready to go do some knitting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.